right, guys, we are back with another F2 podcast, and we are here with Ralphie Ferrari from USF San Francisco. How's the weather out there, Ralphie?
It's been pretty hot. It's been great. Thanks for having
Yeah,
me, Colin. I appreciate you guys having me.
absolutely.
We had the fires and whatnot, so that the weather was a little smoky for a while, but we had another fire earlier in the week, over the weekend actually, but it's a
Man.
little more under control than the past few, so it's been crazy, but it's been good.
Yeah, and so we've had a heck of a 2020. And it seems like it's the overwhelming topic of just like what else is going to happen this year, and certainly in college basketball, it's kind of like that. We didn't know what was going to happen with college football, and so there's a lot unknown with college basketball. Out west, we're in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. You guys are out west. You guys are dealing with wildfires. You're dealing with stuff that we don't deal with over here, but it seems like everybody's going through a whole bunch of stuff. Talk to me real quick. We're just going to dive right in.
Mhm.
Talk to me about the psyche of your team, with the wildfires. I'm sure you've got some local guys on your team. How do you guys navigate that along with, all of the other stuff it feels like it's added to? How do you guys navigate some of that uncertainty?
Yeah, you just try and stay positive with the guys. They're just so happy to be back and playing basketball again. And with, like you said, with everything that's going on between the coronavirus and the wildfires, it's been a crazy time. But I think the kids are just happy to be back. We've had to adjust our practice schedule a little bit because of the wildfires, because the AQI in San Francisco was, very poor. So we had to actually travel down to Burlingame, where I live, to practice, which is like a 30 to 45-minute ride depending on traffic. So we had to do that twice in that time frame where the fires were real bad. So that's it's hard for the kids to do, but sometimes you just got to do what you got to do in order to play. So we're just doing everything we can and staying extremely positive with the young guys. So
Certainly, and being able to adjust is something that makes a really good team good, right? When
for
things
sure.
aren't going according to game plan, being able to adjust and make things go in the direction that you want them to quickly. So you guys leading that way, I think is huge, especially for these, 18, 19, 20, 22-year-old kids.
Yeah.
Speaking about everything else that's going on in our world right now, certainly the coronavirus pandemic, all the politics that's going on right now prior to the election, certainly the racial tension that's going on in our country that probably you and I have never experienced anything like what's going on in our lifetime. What is the position for the coaching staff in terms of opening up conversation? How are you guys handling that? What kind of conversations are you guys having with the players, or is it something that you guys are more quiet about? Or
Yeah, Coach Golden's very proactive with that. Yesterday we sat the team down and told them that everybody needs to register to vote, as many other schools are implementing, which is good. The kids need to exercise their right to vote, and it's up to them to decide who they think is a better candidate. And we've talked about that quite a bit. Coach Golden he actually started the Coaches Coalition for Progress and Change, for racial equality and social justice, which is fantastic. I'm a member of that, so that's been great. He's talked to the team about that. He's trying to make a real change instead of just tweeting or putting on Instagram, which is not, in my mind and other people's mind, real change, because what are you're bringing awareness and light to the issue, but are we actually making change? And what he's doing is fantastic. The goal is to go into underprivileged areas and in inner cities and get those young kids equipment and better their education and teach them more about basketball and show them the right way to live and how to be successful. So what he's doing is fantastic. And, that's what we talk about at USF, which is it's a good start for change. It's something that needs to be done.
absolutely. And so talk to me real quick. You're a young coach. You're 26 years old,
Mm-hmm.
and you're an assistant USF. what is that like, having that sort of leadership? Like, this is the guy who's, who's giving you orders in a sense, but also, that you're serving under. What is it like having that sort of leadership? Somebody that is so proactive, somebody that that is going to be a part of the change in terms of action. What does that do for you as a coach that's learning from him?
Yeah, Coach Golden sets a phenomenal example. He's a really great person and a tremendous basketball coach. He's young. He's 35 years old. He understands the youth. He can relate to the kids. And I just believe he really sets a great example with his everyday life, his habits, his work ethic. He knows the game really well. He can relate to the kids, as I said. I think he's just a really good role model for somebody like myself and the players and other coaches.
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds like it. And I don't know him yet. You and I got a chance to connect over the summer last year when Frankie was in Myrtle Beach training, for his pro workouts. And so you and I got to develop a relationship there. Tell me about you paying your dues, right? So you're 26 years old. You're an assistant coach at Division I college level at a great university at a really good program. I mean, so did you just land there? Did you just get lucky? Like, talk to me about some of the ways that you paid your dues, because I know it's there.
Yeah. So my official title is director of scouting,
Mm-hmm.
and they actually changed the rule that support staff is allowed to be on the floor now. So, I'm involved in drills and working guys out, and I love what I do. I think it's the best job. I wouldn't change or trade this job for anything. And I actually started in 2017 as a team manager. So Frank was a junior, redshirt junior at the time, and I had just transferred to USF. And he put me in contact with Kyle Smith, who then put me in contact with Todd Golden, who's now the head coach. And, at first they were a little hesitant because Frank was on the team and they didn't want a conflict of interest as me as a manager and him as a player, which made sense. So
Sure.
They came in and they told me that I could work their summer camps to start, work with the kids, see if you're doing a good job, if you like it, and then we'll go from there. So I worked all their summer camps that year in 2017. And then, did as well of a job as I could, was there every day and brought energy. And then when the fall rolled around, started showing up to practice. And then they finally, then they're like, all right, well, we're going to let you help out. And, what's special about your role is we don't have a video coordinator. So you can help us out with some video stuff. So I said, excellent. I didn't know anything at the time about the role of the video coordinator. I kind of just jumped in and was like, all right, let's do it. So
Right.
I would download, opposing film and give it to the coaches, and I'd film practice, film games, et cetera, et cetera. And, the role of the manager, you're wiping the floor, you're rebounding for guys, you're grabbing water, setting up practice. It's the dirty work, but it's something you have to do in order to move up the ladder if you didn't play college basketball. And that was the role I decided to take. So I was going to own it and do the best I could. And I stuck with that for the year. And then when the year was up, I met with Coach Smith, and he took me on as a video coordinator in my first year. Did that. And then he left for Washington State. Coach Golden was hired. He kept me on and bumped me up to director of scouting / video coordinator. And so I did that all of last year, which was fantastic. It's a great role. You're really involved with scouting reports and player personnel breakdown. And it's a lot to learn and a lot of fun. And then, this year, same role because of coronavirus and everything that's happening. And when they changed the rule, I'm allowed on the court now. So that's huge. So it's just, it all it was like a snowball effect. It went from one thing to the next, and hoping to keep it rolling. I'm very thankful for the opportunities I've had, and very blessed for Coach Smith and Coach Golden to take me on and give me a job.
Yeah. And what I hear in that, Ralphie, is that you were just willing to do what it took, and I think a lot of us we just want what we want, and we want it now.
Right.
And you were willing to step into the role that they gave you and do your best at it. And I'm not surprised, because I know Frank and I know you. right? I
Yeah.
know that you guys are just really good workers. You're going to excel in the role that you're in, and you're going to do your best and make the team better in whatever way that you can. So I'm not shocked by that, but it's really important for our other young coaches that are listening to this, that you did start out as team manager. You started out working the summer camps. That's where it started.
Right.
And there's absolutely no shame in that. When we keep moving up, and we keep getting more opportunity, it's because you excelled in your role. If you didn't excel, at running the camps, they're not going to give you something else, right?
Absolutely. And,
And
for motivation, I keep a picture on my phone of where Nick Saban started and where Mark Few started, and Bill Belichick. I mean, those guys started as grad assistants. Urban Meyer, Tom Herman. Those guys, the great coaches, they start on the bottom, and you got to work your way up and work hard. And it's funny that you mentioned people working and just wanting things handed to them. We get a plethora of managers that come in every year. This year's a little different. Right. And they all say, oh, I want to be a coach, or I want to be part of the team. And say, okay, well, show up to practice every day and work, and you get about 15 of them that are there at the start, and you end up with one or two that are left because nobody wants to work. So I think the longer you hang around and the better job you do, is you're going to get an opportunity if you work hard.
Right. If you can be trusted with the small things, then you can be trusted with some of the bigger things, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
I know it's the same, and certainly the same thing in the player development business, the training business. How many guys are like, hey, I want to do what you do. And I'm like, you sure those early years, like, things look pretty decent for me right now, but those early years, man, I don't know if you want to do that.
Yeah.
And, but it's good because it weeds out the ones who don't really want it that bad. Right. Right. So tell me what you think the college game and the high school game, they're so different. But what is it, something practically that you feel like really translates from the college game to the high school game that some high school coaches could say, hey, all right, well, maybe we're not going to try and run those actions, or, there's no shot clock where we are in high school basketball. Mm-hmm. So what do you think some of the drills or some of the things that really translates to the high school game that some college coaches could take from this?
I think a lot of college coaches will say that they wouldn't be able to learn from a high school coach, or a few would say that, but I think some high school coaches know as much as college coaches. Basketball is basketball. It's tricky, but it's not something it's not rocket science. Right. It's basketball at the end of the day. So I think you can learn from anybody, whether they're a high school coach or a basketball coach. And I remember a lot of things that we did in high school when I was playing for my dad that we do it, at the college level. A lot of it's the same, and a lot of it's different. In college you have the very detailed, film breakdown and everyday long practices, and a lot of teaching, and a lot of, you're getting guys to buy into your system and your program, which is a little different than high school. In college, you're recruiting, you're picking your guys, rather as high school, they're kind of just assigned to you,
Right.
But in a way, it's very similar and a little bit different. If that kind of answers the question.
You're right. I mean, the simplicity of basketball is score more points than the other team, right? Or that's when it boils down to that. Yeah. What do you feel like has been something, as you've progressed, that you've learned, like, about, like, how much more you need to learn, or like what have you, in terms of whether it's working with other coaches or information on the game, or what do you feel like you've been absorbing the most out of lately, or any resources, any clinics that you've gone through that have really made a big difference in your approach to the game?
Yeah, one thing was two things that stood out were on the college level, the non-basketball stuff that you have to deal with: alumni, donors, boosters, team dinners, tip-off dinners, people coming in and wanting really to, like, be a part of what you're doing. This was super cool to me.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't like to deal with that outside stuff, but I don't mind shaking the hands and doing all that kind of stuff. No fist bumps now with coronavirus. Right. And then another thing was the preparation for a game is so detailed at the college level, and the scouting reports are crazy detailed. We spent a lot of time on that, and that's something that Coach Golden, prides himself on, is his preparation, and he's always, top notch prepared. And in high school, we did not have that. That's one thing that was a huge difference. Is we spend I'd say in total a couple hours, maybe more, just showing the team what what our opponent does. 2 days before the game, a day before the game, and that was really a change for me, because I had no idea that, because I didn't play college basketball, but in high school we did none of that. And for the team to spend so much time on what the other team was doing, I was like, wow, this is very interesting. And no wonder, when they come down and call out a set, our team's like, all right, switch this, or play this ball screen the way we're supposed to play it. We're prepared for it, which was really cool to me. That was the two biggest things I caught on quickly and learned about.
Yeah, and so that level of preparation, which is huge. The high school teams that act more like college teams, it's more in the preparation, right? I mean, so high school, there's a ton of prep schools. There's a ton of private schools, and even some of the really great public schools that spend so much time in the details, and it is in the preparation. But certainly colleges are at such an advantage because you all have the time to do that sort of preparation.
Right. And the resources as well. I mean, the high school, it's hard to get all the software and the program that you guys need to do that kind of stuff, but it's
Absolutely.
doable. It's doable.
Right. Now, so another difference is, look, you guys are recruiting, right? And you're recruiting, you've got to get players that fit your mold, right? Fit what you guys do. What are some of the basics that you guys really look for in players? I remember coming out of high school and just hitting up a bunch of coaches and saying, hey, I'd like to get on your team. I was under recruited. I wasn't recruited at all because I was maybe not recruitable at that time. But I remember coming out and thinking, well, I could play for that team. And when I look back at it now, I'm like, no, I couldn't have played for that team. Like I shouldn't have played in the ACC. So for maybe even players that are listening to this now, like, what are some of the things that you guys look for in the players that you're recruiting? So maybe some of the intangibles. Obviously, you want the 6'6" athlete that can do everything. All right. So don't get that all the time. What are some of the other things that you look for?
Yeah, no, to stay away from that kind of stuff. We look for guys that have good work ethic, and guys that are great teammates, and guys that want to be a part of our program. It's cliche, but it works. You don't want to bring in guys that have bad attitudes and guys that are all about themselves. And I'm sure you've dealt with that before as well. It's hard to deal with, and it's like a bad apple. They bring down guys around them. So we try and get good kids, kids that excel in the classroom, kids that are going to lift the teammate up when they're down, guys that want to be a part of something special and think that they can win at USF. And that's huge for us.
Absolutely. And so we're actually going to take a clip of that for sure. And we're going to make sure that every high school player is listening to that, because that's the deal, is that, you guys are about your program. Certainly you want players to excel individually, but if the collective excels, they excel individually as well too. And the attitude piece, the effort piece, like, so many kids, and I'm working with a bunch of high school kids that they think if they have the right highlights, or they get if they get the right shout out from the scouting people, that maybe they'll get the offer, but they don't realize those intangibles of what you just talked about are so important.
Yeah. And on our recruiting PowerPoint presentation, we have a slide just devoted to it's great work ethic, great attitude, great work ethic, and guys that want to be here. Those are our three main points.
Yeah, that's huge. I love it. All right. So what would you, if you're talking to a high school coach, maybe a coach who wants to move up, they're starting in high school, maybe they're a young coach, they want to move up the ranks, they're looking to get into college basketball at some point, where would you say to start?
I would say it's funny you bring that up. Mike Magpio, who's now the head coach at UC Riverside, great coach, great guy. was one of my mentors early when I was a manager. He was a high school basketball coach, and he wanted to get in. Excuse me. He wanted to get into college, so he emailed Coach Smith when he was at Columbia, and they got in contact. And he said, I'm willing to do whatever. I'll come volunteer. I just want to be a part of your program and learn from you. And that's what he did. He started off volunteering and then was hired. I think he was ops or maybe an assistant, but he eventually became an assistant and then got started that way. And now he's a head coach.
Wow.
So I would say, maybe just start going to, your local, universities practices. Coaches are definitely willing to let people come in and watch, especially if you're a high school basketball coach. I mean, we have high school basketball coaches come in every couple of weeks and watch, and we're more than willing to have them stick around and they can ask questions. Just that's a good way to get involved just by showing up and being there. The Final Four is huge too. That's a big coaching, network to go to. I go every year. I think it's a super good time, and you can meet new people, make connections and contacts, and learn from them. Even something as a graduate assistant role to start. If you don't have a master's, if a high school coach wants to really get involved and they don't have a master's, volunteer to be a GA. A lot of mid-major and low-level schools need help. So we're always looking for good, qualified grad assistants. I think those are three, good ways to get started.
Yeah, absolutely. And those are ways that anybody can do them. You don't have to be.
Yeah. No. If you're willing to donate your time and be there every day, somebody will take you on. There's no doubt for high school coaches.
I dig it. So tell me, like you said, going to the Final Four. Well, the Final Four didn't happen in 2020,
right.
Sadly, because there was a ton of teams that really deserved being a part of that NCAA tournament. So hopefully we see it, in this coming year. But tell me real quick, what has been some of the hardest stuff about this year? I mean, you spoke a little bit to the wildfires. Mm-hmm. I know things are certainly more challenging from a recruiting standpoint. I mean, I don't think that recruiting opened up until September this year. I mean, in terms of contact. I mean, so what has it been like in terms of the challenges that your staff or your university or whatever has had? Like, what's been tough lately that you guys have had to really work through?
I think just the unknown. What's going to happen? When are we going to be able to play? What do we keep telling our guys? What are we allowed to do at practice? How many guys are we allowed to have in the gym? When's our first game? When's our first official practice? The unknown, I think, is just really difficult because the guys want to know, their parents want to know, we want to know. And I think that's the most challenging thing is just not knowing what's going to happen. And is the virus going to clear up? Are we going to be allowed to travel? It's just a lot of unnecessary stress.
Yeah. Yeah, and something that you certainly haven't dealt with before in terms of it's felt like there's been some level of certainty of how a college basketball season is going to go every year. Right. So then what's the approach with what do you guys do to help rectify that?
We've just been preparing as if we're going to play. We're still taking it, extremely serious, and we're trying to get our guys ready to compete. November 25th is supposed to be the starting date, but who knows? That could change. Hopefully not, but hopefully we're playing November 25th. But just keep grinding and keep working. That's what we're focusing on.
Yeah, and it sounds like preparation has been this theme, right, for you all, and certainly coming down from the head coach, and that is the best that we can do, because look, all college basketball is in the same sort of scenario, and I know JUCO, they push back to January 1st as a start, right, and so coaches that are in the same scenario, and the unknown is probably the most difficult for everybody. I think Ralphie said it great, that keep preparing with the intention of going, with the intention of competing at the same level. And to what I think of when I've messed up as a high school coach in the past, mm-hmm. with the unknown is when I haven't communicated well, and when people have so many questions, just letting those questions be out there, and not, not having those conversations, and not there's a sense of, if we keep communicating and we keep talking about it, that things actually, like there may be unknown with what's going on with the pandemic and how things are going to shake out, but there's not unknown in terms of the relationships and the work ethic and the preparation.
Right.
And as parents and players know that, then there's a little bit of like, you know what, we're following those guys because we know what to expect. We know they're going to prepare. We know, they're going to take care of our kids. We know that they're pushing them to vote. So how you guys are handling that at USF it sounds fantastic.
Yeah. We just continue to give them a glimmer of hope. We're going to play November 25th. We're going to play. And I believe we are, unless something catastrophic were to happen with the virus. I pray nothing happens. But, just you got to continue to give them hope every day. Hey, we're going to play. We are playing. Let's prepare. Continue to work hard. Stick to your values and your morals and what got you here. So that's what we continue to preach.
Yeah, I dig it.
Yeah.
Well, Ralphie, man, I appreciate your time. I appreciate you hopping on. That West Coast time is a little bit, it's a little further back, but I know it's normally nice out there. Please stay safe with the wildfires and your guys, man. We're praying for you out here on this side of things, and
Thank you.
we're really looking forward to a great season from you guys.
Yeah, and good luck to you guys, and you guys stay safe as well. Thank you for hosting me.
Absolutely, brother. We'll talk soon.
All right, take care.
Thanks, man.